Moonbound, The Curse of Silver Hollow, Part 1. Chapter 1. The Letter and the Pendant. The storm rolled in with a growl, dark clouds clawing at the sky like something alive. Aelin Thorne stood alone at the edge of the funeral pyre, her fingers clenched around the sealed letter. The flames crackled, devouring the only home she'd ever known. Ash clung to her cloak, but she didn't move, not until the last of her adoptive father's belongings turned to smoke and embers. He had always been secretive, a woodsman with too many scars and too many locks on the doors. But it wasn't until the day he died that she learned the truth. The letter wasn't addressed to her. Not directly. It read, "To the one who bears the blood of Linares. Go to Silver Hollow. Seek the Moonstone Path. The truth will awaken you, and the world may burn for it." Beneath the letter, hidden in a false bottom of his trunk, was the pendant, a crescent moon of pure silver, warm to the touch, pulsing faintly when her skin brushed against it. Something stirred inside her. It wasn't grief. It wasn't fear. It was something older. Something wilder. By morning, she left the cabin behind. She did not look back. Silver Hollow was 3 days' journey through forest paths most maps had forgotten. But the pendant guided her. Every fork, every shadow, every whisper in the wind, it led her deeper. And when she arrived, the village did not welcome her. Eyes followed her. Old eyes. Yellow eyes. Some with suspicion, some with hunger. No one spoke her name, but someone had already whispered it. And high above, perched on the cliff's edge beyond the trees, a dark figure watched her from the ruins of a broken tower. Cloaked in shadow, silent as stone, Ronan Vale had felt the change in the air the moment she stepped across the warded border. The Moonbound had returned, and the Hollow would never be the same. Chapter 2. Welcome to Silver Hollow. The first thing Aelin noticed was the silence. Silver Hollow wasn't the quaint, forested village she'd imagined from half-remembered stories and the edge of her father's old maps. It was older, timeless almost, as though the trees themselves bent inward to keep its secrets. The path narrowed as she approached the outer edge, where stone markers jutted from the mossy earth. Each bore ancient runes, faintly glowing beneath her pendant's light. The pendant grew warm again. She paused at the border stone. A whisper brushed her ear, too soft to understand, too cold to ignore. Steeling herself, she stepped into the hollow. The village rose like a wound from the wild. Weather-worn cottages leaned into the slopes, their roofs dark with pine needles and age. A circular stone well sat at the center, surrounded by crooked lantern poles and a tangled web of old signs, bones, and bells. Above it all, in the hills behind, loomed the shattered silhouette of an ancient tower. As she passed the first cottage, a wooden shutter slammed shut. Then another. Voices hissed behind doors. "She's here. The blood returns." Moonbound. Aelin stopped. Her eyes flicked to the windows, no faces, just the sense of being watched, weighed, measured. Her hand found the pendant again, clutching it as though it might speak. Suddenly, a howl ripped through the forest. Not distant, not wild. Close. Controlled. Calling. Aelin spun, heart thundering. The hair on her arms rose. Then, footsteps behind her. She turned just in time to see a tall figure approaching from the edge of the pines. His presence was immediate. Towering, broad-shouldered, clad in dark leathers that bore claw marks and the stains of many battles. A sword was strapped to his back, silver-edged and ancient. But it was his eyes that stopped her, ice blue and haunted. Eyes that had seen too much and trusted too little. Ronan Vale. He stopped a few paces away, arms crossed, brow low. "You shouldn't be here," he said flatly. "I was invited," she replied, lifting the letter. His gaze dropped to the pendant. For a moment, something flickered behind his cold expression, recognition, Or perhaps memory. You don't know what that means, he said. Then tell me. A heavy pause. No. He turned and walked away, leaving her in the center of a village that already felt like a graveyard. But Aelin wasn't done. She followed him. You knew my parents, didn't you? Ronan stopped in his tracks. You really don't remember anything, do you? I was a child when they died. Or so I was told. He didn't face her. His voice dropped low, more growl than whisper. Your mother wasn't just any werewolf girl. She was the last alpha of the Lunaris bloodline. And your father was the human she should never have loved. And you? She asked. What were you? Ronan finally turned back, eyes locked to hers like a blade unsheathed. I was their betrayer. The wind screamed through the trees. Aelin's blood ran cold. But before she could speak, a bell rang from the center of the village, deep, sonorous, ancient. The call of the Council of Elders. They knew she was here. And they were waiting. Chapter 3. The Night of Teeth and Ash. The bells tolled like thunder from stone, waking the sleeping hollow. Aelin stood at the heart of the village square, breath fogging the cold air. Villagers emerged like shadows, some cautious, some hostile, most curious. She saw old men with scar-crossed cheeks, young women with strange silver rings around their throats, and children whose eyes flashed amber in the dark. Every face turned toward her. No one smiled. Ronan stood behind her like a silent sentinel, arms crossed, jaw clenched. They won't hurt you, he said quietly. Not yet. Aelin didn't respond. She wasn't sure if she believed him. From the far end of the square, the council arrived. 5 of them, cloaked in fur and bone, wearing masks carved from wood, their expressions frozen in snarls, howls, and fanged grins. The leader stepped forward, taller than the others, his mask painted black with a crescent carved into the brow. Elder Myros. Child of Lunaris, he said, voice old and sharp, you cross into sacred ground uninvited. I was summoned, Aelin replied, holding up the letter. My father left me this. And this. She revealed the pendant again. A ripple moved through the crowd. Gasps. Growls. One woman dropped to her knees, whispering an old prayer. Someone else spat in the dirt. Elder Myros did not move. That symbol was buried with your bloodline. If it returns, so do the wars. I didn't come to start a war, Aelin said. No, Myros replied. But you may have just delivered one. Behind him, another elder whispered to the others. The air grew tense. 2 tense. Then howling. Not one. Dozens. It rolled through the trees like a wave, vibrating the lanterns and shaking the earth. The villagers stilled. Aelin saw something new in their eyes. Fear. Scouts, Ronan muttered. No. Not scouts, too many. Elder Myros turned toward the forest. The shadow claws. Aelin's heartbeat thundered in her chest. What's a shadow claw? Ronan drew his blade. Traitors. Rogues. Wolves who serve the Silver King. From the tree lean, shapes emerged. Gaunt, gray-skinned werewolves with glowing red eyes and matted fur. Their teeth were too long. Their limbs twisted like broken tree branches. They didn't walk, they stalked. More animal than man. The first one stepped into the square and howled. The hollow exploded into motion. Villagers shifted mid-run, bones snapping, clothes tearing. Claws and fangs burst from flesh. Screams turned to roars. The square became a war zone of blood, fire, and fur. Ronan grabbed Aelin's arm. You stay behind me. No heroics. He plunged into the fray, blade flashing silver as it met a charging beast. Sparks flew. Blood sprayed. Ronan moved like a shadow possessed. Aelin stumbled back, but the chaos followed her. One shadow claw broke through the line, its eyes locked on her, breath steaming from its muzzle. She raised her pendant, and it flared. The creature shrieked, clawing at its own face as the light burned its skin. Aelin stared at the pendant, stunned. Her blood surged. The air shimmered. Something inside her responded to the violence. Something ancient. A howl tore from her throat, unbidden, wild, and the earth itself trembled. The creature fled. Across the square, Ronan saw her. He froze, bloodied and wide-eyed. "She's awakening," he whispered. Chapter 4: Ronan Vale. The battle was over. For now. The dead were burned in silence, shadow claws and hollowborn alike. Smoke clung to the trees like a mourning veil. Aelin watched the flames from the steps of the stone well, wrapped in a borrowed cloak that still smelled of wolf musk and blood. No one spoke to her. But they didn't look away either. She felt it in their stares, the fear, the awe, and the questions. She didn't have answers. Only that howl, her own, still echoed in her ears. Raw, primal, not human, not yet wolf. Somewhere in her bones, something had cracked open. She needed air. She slipped away from the square and followed a narrow path behind the houses, up the hill where the trees grew denser. Her pendant pulsed faintly against her chest, tugging her forward like a compass made of moonlight. At the summit, she found him. Ronan Vale stood at the edge of a cliff, staring down at the hollow below. The wind whipped his dark hair around his face, his blade resting in the grass at his feet. He didn't turn. "You shouldn't be here. I never should have come at all," apparently, Aelin said. Silence stretched between them. She stepped closer. "That thing back there. The shadow claw. When I howled, it ran." "Why?" Ronan's jaw tensed. "Because it felt what you are." "And what's that?" His voice dropped. "Moonbound." The word felt like a lock clicking into place. "You said my mother was the last of her bloodline," she said. "But you didn't say how she died." Ronan closed his eyes. "Because I was there." Finally, he turned to face her. "The hollow wasn't always fractured," he said. "There was a time when the Lunaris line ruled all the packs. Your mother, Alessandra, was our queen. She was fierce and kind. Too kind. She believed peace was possible. Even with humans. She fell in love with one," Aelin whispered. "Yes, your father. A seer. He warned her of betrayal, of the Silver King's rise. But she wouldn't abandon her counsel. Not even when they began to turn against her." "And you?" she asked softly. "I was her sworn blade," Ronan said. "She raised me from nothing. Taught me to think before I bite. To fight for unity, not dominance. I would have died for her. But you didn't." "No," his voice broke like ice underfoot. "When the rebellion began, I was ordered to lead her to safety. I failed. We were ambushed. She shielded you with her body. Your father got you both out, barely." He looked away, ashamed. "She died calling my name." Aelin swallowed. "And you've carried that guilt ever since." Ronan nodded. "I thought you died too. When I heard rumors of a girl with the Lunaris mark. I didn't believe it. Until I saw you." Aelin stepped closer. "You didn't fail her, Ronan. You survived. You protected me. That matters." He looked at her, the cold edge in his eyes softening for the first time. "You look like her," he said quietly. "But there's fire in you too." Fire she never had. Then the wind shifted. They both turned toward the forest. Another howl echoed. This one was different, deep, echoing, like it came from a place far beneath the earth. Ronan bent to retrieve his blade. "The Silver King is stirring. The Shadow Claws were just scouts. He's testing our strength." Aelin touched the pendant. "Then we need to be ready." He studied her. "You still have time to run, you know." "I'm not running," she said. "I want to learn. To fight. To protect what's left of her legacy." Ronan gave a grim smile. "Then I'll train you. But know this power comes with a price. Especially yours." Aelin met his gaze, steady and unflinching. "I'm willing to pay it." Candle Chapter 5. The Council's Warning. By morning, the forest held its breath. Aelin was summoned before the Council of Elders again, but this time it wasn't in the open square. She stood before a wrought iron gate hidden beneath a yew tree older than any home in Silver Hollow. Ronan said nothing as they approached. He only handed her a blade. "A knife?" she asked. "It's tradition," he replied. "Don't draw it. Just carry it." The gate creaked open on its own. Inside lay the Wrd Hollow, the sacred council chamber, a sunken ring of stone partially buried beneath roots and time. The walls were carved with lupin glyphs and moon cycles. In the center, a wide circle of white ash marked the council floor. The scent of burning sage and old blood clung to the air. The 5 elders waited in their thrones of gnarled wood and bone. Their masks glinted in the dim torchlight. Myros sat in the center, black crescent painted over his brow. Around the edges stood silent witnesses, pack leaders, old warriors, cloaked seers. Eyes gleamed in the shadows. Ronan stood beside the threshold, but he did not follow. This was her trial, and hers alone. Aelin stepped into the circle. Myros spoke first. "You carry the mark of Linares." Aelin nodded. "You are moonbound by blood." "I am," she said. "But I don't know what that means." The council stirred. Elder Sithra, the only woman among them, leaned forward. Her mask was shaped like a mourning wolf, its fangs bared in a snarl. "The Moonbound is more than a name. It is a force of reckoning. Long ago, the goddess Selenar gave our kind a choice: be ruled by the cycle of the moon, or bend it to your will." Aelin's pulse quickened. "And my bloodline chose to bend it?" "They could walk the space between phases," Myros said. "Change at will. Dreamwalk. Heal. Curse." Their howl could silence storms. Another elder spoke, his voice reedy and bitter. "They claim to be guardians of the balance. But balance means nothing when one house holds all the power." Sithra hissed, "Watch your tongue, Aaron." Aelin looked between them. "You're afraid of me." "We're afraid of what you might awaken," said Myros. "Your mother was beloved, and she died for her belief that peace could exist between us and the humans. She died because you let her stand alone," Aelin shot back. Gasps rippled through the watchers. Even Myros' mask seemed to flinch. But he recovered. "Speak boldly, then. And listen well." He rose to his full height, his voice rising like the wind before a storm. "There is a prophecy, one we buried with your bloodline. It speaks of a moonbound child, born of wolf and human, who shall either unite the packs under a new age of peace, or lead them into a final war where the moon will never rise again." A hush fell like snowfall. Aelin's voice dropped. "And you think I'm that child?" "We know you are," said Sithra, her voice lower now. Sadder. Myros continued, "The Silver King will seek you. Not to destroy you, but to claim you. For his bloodline was denied the moonbound gift. If he binds his curse to yours, he will become unstoppable." Aelin's hand brushed her pendant. "Then let him come." "I'm not afraid." "Then you are a fool," Elder Aaron barked. "You barely control your howl, let alone the gift inside you." Myros held up a hand. "You have 7 nights. 7 nights to train. To awaken what lies dormant. Then we decide, do we protect you, or do we bind you in silver and send you away?" The room erupted in shouts. Pack leaders argued. Warriors growled. Aelin stood her ground. "You don't get to decide my fate." "No," Myros said grimly. "But the moon does. And if your blood leads us to war, we will not follow." Ronan stepped forward then, eyes blazing. "Then I will." All heads turned. Myros' voice dropped to a growl. "You would stand alone, Vale? Betray your own alpha." Ronan didn't flinch. "I stood by once and watched her mother die. I won't make that mistake again." Aelin looked at him, stunned. Not by his loyalty, but by the depth of it. Something unspoken passed between them. Trust. defiance. A spark. The bell tolled again in the distance. Not a warning. A summoning. Cithra turned her masked face toward the north. More visitors. Myros growled. The Hollow does not sleep. And the Silver King is moving faster than we thought. The torches dimmed. The council's session ended. But the war had only just begun. Chapter 6. Whispers of Linares. The Hollow slept uneasily. After the council's decree, Aelin found herself escorted not to a cottage or barracks, but into the wilds beyond the warded trees, to a place none had spoken of in years. Her only guide was Ronan Vale, silent as ever, the torchlight casting amber across his angular face. They walked for over an hour through tangled forest, past stones carved with symbols even Ronan didn't translate. "This was once sacred land," he said at last, breaking the silence. "Isn't it still?" "No. Not since it burned." The path led them to the crest of a hill where the trees gave way to a sweeping vale. There, beneath a veil of ivy and moonlight, lay the ruins of House Linares. Broken pillars jutted like bones from the earth. Scorched stone walls barely stood, their surfaces overgrown with moss and mourning vines. A grand archway had collapsed, and the remnants of a once majestic hall sat exposed to the sky. Time had carved its own story into every surface. But despite the decay, Aelin felt it immediately. Something was waiting here, watching, remembering. As she stepped across the threshold of the old stone hall, her pendant flared white-hot against her chest. "Your blood remembers this place," Ronan said quietly. Aelin didn't answer. Her heart was pounding. Her breath caught in her throat. Something was pulling her deeper. She crossed the hall, running her fingers along the walls, the old carvings. Crescent moons. Wolves under stars. A woman's face surrounded by silver fire. She paused at the far end, where the wall had collapsed into rubble. A broken pedestal stood there, and on it, the charred remains of a once beautiful mirror. But it wasn't glass that caught her gaze, it was the voice. Faint. Like wind. "Aelin." She spun. "Did you hear that?" Ronan frowned. "Hear what?" "Daughter of the moon." Aelin took a step back. Her eyes shimmered silver for a moment, then flared. The pendant burst with light. And suddenly, she wasn't in the ruins anymore. The hall was whole again, lit by moonlight through stained glass windows. Silver tapestries fluttered in the wind. The air was warm with the scent of sage and pine. A woman stood at the center of the room, tall, graceful, clad in black leathers trimmed with silver thread. Her hair flowed like ink down her back, and in her arms she held a child. Aelin. Her breath caught in her throat. The woman turned, as if sensing her, and whispered words Aelin didn't understand, but felt in her bones. "When the moon forgets its name, when wolves turn on kin, the last howl of Linares shall awaken the flame within." Aelin blinked, and the vision shattered. She collapsed to her knees in the ruins, gasping. The pendant cooled. The torchlight flickered. Ronan was at her side in an instant. "Aelin, what happened?" "I saw her," she whispered. "My mother." Ronan helped her up. "A memory? A vision? I don't know. But I think she left it here. For me." He looked toward the ruined pedestal. Moonbound were said to imprint their memories onto places of power. "If this is one of them, then there are more," Aelin finished. She looked around at the bones of her home, this place that lived half in ruins, half in dreams. She felt something stirring beneath the earth, like roots awakening from winter. And in her mind, the words repeated. "The last howl of Linares shall awaken the flame within." She stood straighter. "I want to know what it means," she said. "All of it." Ronan nodded. "Then tomorrow we begin your training. We'll awaken what's buried." Together, lightning cracked in the distance. And far away, unseen, a silver-eyed shadow stepped from the forest, cloaked in ash and moonlight, watching the flames of House Lunaris flicker once again. Chapter 7. Marked by the Moon. The next morning, the sky hung heavy and gray, like the forest itself was holding its breath. Ronan met Aelin at the edge of the Lunaris ruins, silent and sharp-eyed, wearing black armor trimmed with worn silver. He carried a thick leather satchel slung over one shoulder. "What's in the bag?" Aelin asked. "Regret," he replied dryly. "And a ritual blade." They walked in silence through the mist-draped woods until they reached a clearing surrounded by standing stones etched with ancient glyphs. Crescent moons. Claw marks. Stars circling an eye. The space hummed with old magic. "Where are we?" Aelin asked. Ronan unsheathed the blade and drove it into the center of the clearing. "The trial circle. No bloodline can awaken without first facing it." She frowned. "Trial of what?" "Resonance," he said. "The moon must recognize you. Claim you. Burn you." "That sounds comforting." He offered a faint smile. "It's not meant to comfort. It's meant to decide." Without another word, he stepped back and knelt by one of the stones. From the satchel, he pulled powdered sage, salt, and 3 small vials, one filled with silver dust, one with dried wolf's blood, and one glowing faintly blue. As he poured a circle around the blade, the runes on the stones began to glow. "Take off the pendant," he said. "And your boots. Nothing shields you from this." Aelin hesitated only a second before obeying. Barefoot, breath-fogging, she stepped into the circle. The wind died. The forest hushed. And the moon, pale and waning in the morning sky, broke through the clouds above and cast its light directly upon her. The blade pulsed once. And then it began. The runes flared white-hot. The symbols on the blade lit with fire. Aelin's chest constricted. Her skin burned. Not with pain, but memory. The ground trembled beneath her feet as ghostly shapes emerged from the stones, echoes of the Lunaris bloodline. Warriors with silver eyes and shifting faces. Women crowned with starlight. Men who howled without mouths. Children made of mist and song. They formed a circle around her. One stepped forward, a tall woman with black braids and a silver crown. Her mother. But this time, she spoke clearly. "Do you accept what you are, Aelin Thorne? Daughter of fire and shadow. Child of 2 worlds. Will you rise or fall?" Aelin's lips parted. "I don't know what I'm becoming." "Good," said the woman. "It means you still have a choice." The figures raised their arms in unison, and the howl began. Not from Aelin. From them. It pierced the clearing like a blade made of sorrow and starlight, vibrating through her bones. Her knees buckled. Her blood ignited. Her eyes flashed silver and stayed that way. The visions came like lightning. A battlefield littered with broken banners. A black wolf crowned in flame. A silver king with no face. A blade sinking into a friend's back. Ronan on his knees, bleeding. Herself, standing beneath the blood moon, fangs bared, eyes glowing, alone. And then, silence. The spirits were gone. The runes dimmed. The blade fell from its pedestal and buried itself in the earth, still humming. Aelin gasped, collapsing to one knee. Her body ached with a pain that wasn't physical. On her chest, where the pendant had once rested, a mark now burned etched into her skin. A crescent moon cradling a flame. She was moonbound. Ronan knelt beside her, reaching out slowly. "You saw them," he said. "Didn't you?" Aelin nodded. "And more." He helped her up. "You're not fully awakened yet. That was only the beginning. But the Hollow will have to see this mark. There's no denying your blood now." She looked down at the symbol glowing on her chest. It pulsed once, then faded to a pale silver. "I don't want their fear," she whispered. "Or their worship." "You'll get both," he said. "But maybe, also their trust." "In time." Word spread quickly through Silver Hollow. They called her flame-born, star-eyed, the child of reckoning. Some bowed when she passed. Others fled. The old warriors watched her like she was a loaded weapon. Ronan stood at her side through it all. But not everyone was pleased. That night, in the deepest part of the hollow, a cloaked figure knelt before a stone altar. Their face remained in shadow, but their voice was cold and clear. "She bears the mark," a low growl answered. "Then the time has come," said the figure. "The Silver King awaits her. And she will come to him, whether she wills it or not." The flames of the altar rose, and the mark on Aelin's chest pulsed once, as though sensing something approaching. Something she would not be ready for. Chapter 8. The Hunter's Oath. The moon was a pale ghost in the morning sky when the training began. Ronan led Aelin to a clearing high above Silver Hollow, where the trees opened like a mouth and the earth bore the scars of 1,000 battles, burn marks, clawed stones, shattered blades half buried in soil. This was the scarred ground, once used by the Lunaris elite for war rites. It was not a place of comfort. It was a place of reckoning. "You said you'd train me," Aelin said, brushing a leaf from her hair. "But you didn't say it would be here." Ronan unslung a wrapped object from his back and tossed it at her feet. She crouched to open it, finding a short silver-edged spear, perfectly balanced, the wood engraved with ancient sigils. "Silverwood," he said. "It's light. Fast. Won't kill a werewolf, but it'll slow one down. I don't want to kill anyone." "Then don't fight Shadow Claws. Or me." He stepped back and transformed mid-stride, quick, violent, flawless. Where Ronan stood, now stood a great black wolf with silver streaks across its chest and haunches, his eyes burning pale blue. Aelin stepped back instinctively. "I'm not ready for this." The wolf bared its teeth. She gripped the spear. Ronan lunged. What followed was not a lesson, it was a storm. Aelin dodged, ducked, rolled. Her heart thundered as she moved purely on instinct. She jabbed, missed, parried. Her balance failed her twice. The third time, she hit the ground hard enough to see stars. When she looked up, Ronan stood over her again, back in human form, chest heaving. "You lasted longer than most initiates," he said. "But instincts fade fast when fear takes over. If you hesitate, they will kill you." Aelin sat up, bruised but blazing with determination. "Then teach me to stop hesitating." By dusk, her arms trembled from repetition, swings, stabs, evasions, but she refused to stop. The training ground echoed with the clash of weapons and barked commands. When the final bell rang from the hollow, Ronan tossed her a water skin. "You fought well today." Aelin smirked through sweat and blood. "You fight dirty. I fight to survive. You'll learn." Before she could answer, a sharp cry echoed through the trees. Aelin and Ronan spun in unison, weapons raised. From the edge of the forest, a cloaked figure staggered forward, lean, fast, moving like an injured predator. Blood soaked his side. A crossbow bolt jutted from his thigh. Ronan growled. "That's a Shadow Claw insignia." The stranger collapsed to one knee, pulling back his hood. He was young, no more than 30, with storm-gray eyes and tribal tattoos trailing down his neck. His face was sharp, his skin marked by travel and ash. But his voice was calm when he spoke. "I come alone. I carry no fangs." Ronan stepped between him and Aelin. "Who are you?" The man coughed, blood on his lips. "I am Tavrek. Once of the Irefong pack. Now Shadow Claw, exile." Aelin narrowed her eyes. Why would a Shadow Claw come here? Tavrek's eyes locked on hers. "Because he sent me." "Who?" "The Silver King." Ronan's blade was at his throat in an instant. "You lie." Tavrek raised a bloodied hand. "He doesn't want war with the Hollow." "Not yet. He wants her." Aelin felt her heart drop. Tavrek coughed again, weaker now. "He says if you come willingly, no blood will spill." He claims you are his destiny, that your bloodline belongs with his. Ronan growled, pressing the blade tighter. And what do you say? I say, I saw what he did to the last Moonbound he found. And I say run. Because if you don't go to him, he'll bring the war to you. Aelin's mark burned faintly on her chest. Tavrek collapsed into unconsciousness. Aelin sat on the roof of the old Lunaris ruin, watching the stars emerge like quiet sentinels. She clutched the spear in one hand, her other tracing the scar that now lived over her heartbeat. The Silver King had seen her, and now she'd seen his reach. Ronan joined her in silence, settling beside her. You believe him? She asked. Ronan nodded slowly. Shadow claws don't send warnings. If he's here, it's because he knows something's about to begin. Then we don't wait, Aelin said. We prepare. Ronan glanced at her, proud and wary. You're becoming what they fear. I'm becoming what they need. They sat in silence, shoulder to shoulder, under the full moon rising. And far across the mountains, deep in the wastelands of ash and ruin, a silver crown was placed upon a cold brow. The Silver King opened his eyes and smiled. Chapter 9. Ira's Betrayal. The hollow stirred with restless whispers. Word of Tavrek's arrival spread like wildfire, an exile bearing the Silver King's warning? Unthinkable. Yet undeniable. The council met behind locked doors. Pack leaders argued by firelight. Elders called for action, while others demanded caution. And in the midst of it all, Aelin trained. Every dawn, she met Ronan on the scarred ground. Her body ached. Her knuckles split. Her spear flew sharper. Her howl grew stronger. And for the first time since she arrived, eyes that once feared her began to follow her with something else. Hope. Aelin sat on a low stone wall near the ruined gardens of House Lunaris, bandaging her wrist. Her thoughts were distant, half lost in memory, half in visions that still haunted her from the trial. Then a voice, sharp and familiar, broke the quiet. Well, well. Moonborn royalty knows how to bleed after all. Aelin turned and froze. Ira Voss. Lean, raven-haired, dressed in tight hunting leathers with obsidian daggers strapped to both hips. Her sharp, angular face was half-shadowed beneath a black hood, but her smirk was unmistakable. Aelin rose slowly. Ira, the girl who had once been her friend. Her only companion in the woods beyond her adoptive father's cottage. The one who'd vanished when they were 12 on a moonless night, without a word. You're alive, Aelin breathed. Ira's smile curved like a blade. So are you. Pity. Aelin stepped forward. Why didn't you ever come back? What happened to you? I came back, Ira said. But I wasn't welcome. Her fingers brushed the hilt of one of her daggers. You know what they did to me when they found out I was born to a human mother? Cast me out. Labeled me mongrel. Unclean. You were always the favorite. The hidden star. The girl of destiny. I never asked for any of that. No, Ira said. But you got it. All of it. Aelin's voice softened. You were my friend. Ira's eyes burned. And now I'm your reckoning. The ambush came fast. Aelin sensed the shift in the wind, but too late. From the shadows, 3 masked warriors leapt into the clearing, blades drawn, glyphs glowing across their arms. They moved like wolves, silent and brutal. Aelin ducked the first strike, rolling to her feet and grabbing her spear. She spun it instinctively, deflecting a dagger meant for her ribs. You're working with the Silver King, she spat. Ira circled her like a predator. He offered what the Hollow never would, power without bloodlines. Strength without obedience. Steel clashed against wood. Aelin parried, dodged, jabbed, but the odds were against her. Then, a roar split the air. Ronan Vale crashed through the underbrush, blade drawn, shifting mid-stride into his wolf form as he tackled one of the masked warriors to the ground. Blood sprayed. Bones snapped. Go, He growled between teeth. Run. But Aelin stood her ground. I'm done running. She turned to Ira. I don't care what the Silver King promised you, Aelin said. You betrayed your blood. You betrayed me. Ira's face twisted. Because you forgot me. Like everyone else. Their blades met with a crack of steel, and the forest lit with flashes of silver. It was over quickly. One of the warriors fled when Ronan bit deep into his comrade's throat. The other was left bleeding at Aelin's feet, unconscious. Ira stood panting, blood on her brow, daggers fallen. Aelin held her spear at her throat. But she didn't strike. Ira stared up at her, hatred fading into something else. Weariness. Wounded pride. You'll never stop him, she said. The king isn't a man. He's what comes after kings. Then she vanished in a burst of smoke and ash gone. Aelin stumbled back, shaking. Ronan caught her, holding her steady. You all right? No, she whispered. But I will be. She looked down at her bleeding hand, the mark on her chest glowing faintly. She's just the beginning, isn't she? Ronan's jaw tightened. The king has agents everywhere. Some will betray you for power. Others because they think you don't deserve yours. Aelin nodded slowly, resolve hardening in her chest. Then let them come. In a distant chamber lit by cold fire, Ira knelt before a throne carved from bone and moonstone. The Silver King rose from its shadowed seat, his eyes gleaming like molten mercury. She hesitated, Ira said. She still doubts herself. The king touched her cheek with a clawed hand. Good. Doubt makes her human. His smile was cruel and beautiful, and we will burn the human out of her. Chapter 10. The Forest of Echoes. The wind carried whispers that night. Soft, dissonant, like lullabies half-remembered. Aelin stood at the edge of the known world, where the woods turned silver under moonlight and the trees leaned like listeners. They called it the Forest of Echoes. No one entered it willingly. The forest stretched beyond the farthest border of Silver Hollow, older than the first bloodline. It was said that wolves who died with unfinished oaths were trapped within, howling not in rage, but in memory. But Aelin had to go. Because the mark burned. Because her dreams showed her a path through bramble and mist. And because her mother's voice had returned. Come to me, Flameborn. Come to where it began. Ronan had warned her not to leave the wards. But she'd left anyway. She entered the forest before dawn, wearing a cloak woven from dusk-colored threads and a dagger at her hip. The trees swallowed her immediately, tall, twisted things with bark like scarred skin. Moss clung to their roots like crawling hands. Fog coiled low. Every step sounded wrong, like she walked not on leaves, but bones. The pendant at her throat flickered with a pulsing light. A compass that didn't point north, but home. Aelin. She froze. The voice was behind her. Then ahead. Then within. She turned in a slow circle. The woods had changed. Where there had been trees, now stood pillars of black stone, each etched with the name of a fallen Lunaris warrior. Hundreds of them. Maybe more. And from each a voice whispered. A name. A memory. A warning. As Aelin moved forward, a shape emerged from the fog, a wolf larger than any she'd ever seen. Twice the size of Ronan in his shifted form. Jet black fur, streaked with silver veins. Its eyes glowed with blue fire. It did not growl. It did not move. It waited. Aelin slowly lowered her hood. Who are you? The beast spoke, not with words, but through her bones. I am the First Fong, the Memory Keeper, the Grave Watcher. Daughter of Lunaris, why have you come to this place? Aelin stepped forward, heart pounding. To find what was stolen. To remember what I lost. To awaken what sleeps in my blood. The wolf's eyes narrowed. Then you must face them. The echoes. All of them. The fog exploded into motion. Figures emerged, dozens, then hundreds. Fallen warriors. Spectral wolves. A child holding a dagger. A woman in silver armor with eyes like mirrors. Her mother. Alessandra Lunaris stepped from the mist. But this time, she was not a memory. She was fury. Why did you let me die, Aelin? Why did you forget me? Why did you hide? Aelin fell to her knees. I didn't choose to forget, she whispered. They took it from me. Did they take your courage too? More voices. She's not ready. She will fail. She is not the moon's heir. No, Aelin said, louder now. I won't fail. I came back. I'm standing here. Isn't that enough? Stand then, her mother said. Prove it. The forest twisted again. Suddenly, Aelin was surrounded by fire, real, not spectral. The ground beneath her feet cracked. Ash rained from above. A circle of flames enclosed her, and in its center, a beast. Massive. Clawed. With burning eyes and fur made of smoke. It was not wolf or man. It was doubt-given form. If you're Moonbound, face your own shadow. The beast lunged. Aelin screamed and raised her arms, expecting fire. Pain. Instead, her pendant blazed. Light erupted from her chest, not white, but gold. Fierce. Untamed. It struck the beast mid-charge and shattered it into mist. Silence returned. And when the flames died, the first Fong bowed its head. You carry more than your mother's blood. You carry the flame that breaks chains. He stepped aside. Go, child of Lunaris. Take what remains. At the heart of the forest stood a single stone altar, covered in roots. Upon it, a fragment of moonstone, glowing with a soft inner fire. Aelin reached out, and the moment her fingers touched it, visions surged through her. A crown made of antlers. A battle in the snow. Ronin bound in silver chains. The Silver King, standing at the gates of the hollow. And finally, her mother, cradling her as a baby, whispering a lullaby that ended with, You are the moon's fury and the fire's grace. You will not kneel. You will rise. Aelin left the forest just before nightfall, her cloak torn, her eyes glowing with silver light, and the moonstone clasped in her hand. Ronin stood at the edge of the woods, pacing like a worried predator. When he saw her, he stilled. You went in alone, he growled. I had to. He studied her, his expression unreadable. And what did you find? Aelin stepped close, holding up the moonstone. My legacy. Chapter 11. Blood in the Snow. The first snowfall came silently, unnaturally so. It blanketed Silver Hollow in a pale hush, muffling sounds, masking scents, hiding intentions. By dawn, the village was cocooned in frost. Smoke curled from chimneys. Icicles formed on the edges of the old well. Even the wolves walked with caution, their tracks vanishing behind them. Aelin awoke in the upper chambers of the old Lunaris ruins, the moonstone fragment clutched to her chest, her dreams still echoing with whispers from the forest of echoes. But something was wrong. She felt it in the air. A stillness too perfect. A silence that wasn't silence, but waiting. Ronin was already at the outer border when the attack came. The first scream came from the northern watch post, cut short before it echoed. The second came with howls. Dozens of them. Then the fire bells rang. Aelin rushed outside, the cold biting at her skin. Villagers poured into the square, some armed, some scrambling for cover. Elders shouted orders. Warriors shifted mid-sprint, racing toward the breach. Then she saw them. Shadow claws. Twisted, feral werewolves with blackened fur and crimson eyes, swarming through the trees like locusts. They moved in eerie synchronization as if pulled by a single will. The Silver King's reach had arrived. Ronin appeared beside her, blood streaking his jaw, one arm already wounded. They're after the moonstone, he growled. And you? Then they'll have to go through me. He grinned despite the chaos. That's the plan. They ran toward the square together. The hollow became a battlefield. Pack warriors met the invaders with tooth and steel. Elders conjured old rites, casting silver fire from their staffs. The villagers who had once feared Aelin now fought beside her. Aelin moved like wildfire, her spear flashing silver in the snow. Every time she struck, the moonstone flared with golden light. Her mark burned on her chest, and with each heartbeat, her power grew. She no longer needed the pendant to channel it. She was the flame. One of the shadow claws lunged for a child near the edge of the well. Aelin turned and screamed, not with fear, but force. The air cracked. Her voice became a howl. The beast crumpled, ears bleeding, as if the sound had pierced through its mind. She stood over it, stunned. Around her, the battle slowed as her enemies faltered. Even Ronan stared. "You just shattered its will," he said. "I didn't mean to." "Then learn to mean it." Near the chapel at the hollow's edge, Aelin saw Tavrek, the wounded exile, dragging himself toward a burning cottage. He was trying to save someone. Then a masked shadow claw emerged from the smoke behind him, blade drawn. "No!" Aelin shouted. She ran, dodging flaming debris, snow melting under her feet. Too far. The blade fell. But someone else intervened. A young warrior, a girl Aelin didn't recognize, threw herself in the way. She took the blade to the chest, gasped, and collapsed. Tavrek caught her, screaming. Aelin arrived seconds too late. The girl lay dying, her eyes wide and unblinking, blood staining the snow beneath her. "She believed in you," Tavrek whispered, clutching the girl's hand. "They all do now. Even the ones who feared you." Aelin's hands shook. She looked around, the snow no longer white, the hollow burning, her people bleeding. This wasn't her destiny. This was her responsibility. She rose slowly, the moonstone now glowing like a sun in her hand. And she howled. The sound tore through the battlefield, raw, pure, defiant. The shadow claws stumbled, their ears bleeding. Two collapsed. A third fled. Every head turned. That was the moment the legend of the Moonbound truly began. By nightfall, the fires were out. The shadow claws had retreated. 23 wolves lay dead. Dozens injured. One entire family gone. But the hollow still stood. Elder Sithra found Aelin near the chapel steps, staring at the sky. "You turned the tide," the elder said. "You broke them." Aelin's voice was distant. "I couldn't save everyone." "No alpha can," Sithra replied. "But few ever learn that so early." She looked into Aelin's eyes. "You are no longer a guest here. You are of the hollow now. By fire, by blood, by moonlight." The elder placed a silver ring in her hand, marked with the sigil of House Linares. Her mother's crest. In a blackened spire far beyond the mountains, the Silver King stood before a mirror of cracked obsidian. He watched Aelin's howl ripple through the air, shattering his spy's illusions. "She grows stronger," said Ira, kneeling beside him. The king touched the glass. Let her blaze." Then he smiled. "Because when she burns out, I'll be all that remains." Chapter 12. The Silver King returns. The hollow had not yet healed when the sky turned silver. 3 days after the battle, the forest grew quiet in the wrong kind of way. No birdsong. No wind. Just a stillness that pressed against the skin like frost. Aelin felt it first, a pulse beneath the earth, echoing through her mark, her bones, the fragment of moonstone she kept tucked against her chest. The hollow's elders gathered that evening beneath the WRD tree, where the old blood oaths were once sealed. Ronan stood beside Aelin, his shoulders tense, hand resting on the hilt of his sword. "He's coming," she said. Ronan nodded. "He wants you to see him. Wants you curious before you're afraid." The WRD bells began to toll. Then the mist rolled in. From the northern path, one no longer in use, came a carriage of blackened bone and silver filigree, drawn by wolves with empty eyes and breath that steamed like smoke. They stepped over the hollow's wards as if they weren't there. The doors opened, and he stepped out. Tall, regal, cloaked in pale silks trimmed with ash. His hair was moon-white, his skin the hue of frost, and his eyes impossible to describe. Not silver, not gold. Just wrong, like the light bent around them. The Silver King smiled with no warmth. No crown sat upon his brow, but his presence was sovereign. The crowd recoiled. Some dropped to one knee. Others couldn't breathe. Aelin did not move. He stopped a dozen paces from her, tilted his head. "So," he said, "you are the flame I have long waited to see." No blades were drawn. Not yet. The hollow watched from the trees, from rooftops, from behind half-open doors. The council stood behind Aelin. Ronan, beside her. "You shouldn't be here," Aelin said. "I was invited," the king replied, his voice smooth as snowfall. "By prophecy, by blood, by you. I didn't call for you. Your power did. And now here I am." He stepped closer, Ronan growled softly, stepping forward, but the king raised a hand. "I come without sword. Without army. I come to speak." Aelin met his gaze. "Then speak." The king's voice shifted, darker now, more intimate. "I know the weight you carry. The dead. The fire. The endless what-ifs. You think I don't understand it, but I do. I was once as you are. Unclaimed. Bound in chains of expectation." Aelin said nothing. "But they don't want a leader, do they?" he went on. "They want a symbol. A girl who burns bright so they don't have to. But you and I, we were born for more than that." "You murdered my bloodline," Aelin said, cold. "I ended a war they started. A war your mother prolonged with her weakness. Her belief that peace could exist between gods and monsters." He stepped one pace closer. "You are not weak, Aelin. I see it in your flame. In the way the hollow trembles when you speak." Her fingers twitched at her side. "I offer you a choice," he said. "Come with me. Rule beside me. Bring order to the chaos of the fractured bloodlines. Become more than legend. Become eternal." The hollow held its breath. Ronan whispered, "Don't listen, he poisons with truth." Aelin's heart pounded. "You think you know me," she said softly. "But you don't. You only know what you feared I would become." The king's smile faltered. "Just slightly. And I will become it," she said. "But not with you." The king's expression darkened. "So be it." He raised his hand. And the sky fractured. From the clouds fell a shower of ash and silver flakes, shards of light and shadow that hit the ground and shaped themselves into beasts. Not wolves. Not men. Something between. 6 of them. They charged the hollow square. Chaos exploded. Aelin turned, hurling herself into motion. Ronan shifted beside her. The villagers scattered. Elders drew wards. But Aelin didn't run. She stepped forward, moonstone in hand, and screamed her power into the square. The howl that followed was not hers alone. It carried through the trees, through the bones, through the past. And in the air above the hollow, the ghosts of her ancestors howled with her. The beasts shattered mid-lunge, burned to mist by the sheer force of her defiance. When the mist cleared, the king was gone. Night fell harder than usual. The council reconvened in silence. No one spoke of victory. Only the invitation left behind, a silver leaf sealed with wax and a crescent moon. Aelin held it, reading the single phrase etched inside. "You will return to me, Flameborn. When they break you. And they will." She burned the message to ash. Ronan found her near the ruins, later that night, sitting beneath the same tree where her mother once sang lullabies. "He'll come again," she whispered. "He will," Ronan said. "But next time, he won't talk first. Aelin stood, eyes aglow. Then we won't either. Chapter 13. Secrets Beneath the Hollow. The snow had not yet melted when Aelin returned to the ruins of House Lunaris. Ronan trailed behind her in silence, his footsteps cautious. He could feel it too, that pull beneath the earth, as though the ground itself was holding its breath. They stopped in what remained of the ancestral Great Hall, where half-buried stone columns still clung to moon glyphs and ivy like the memory of a crown. Aelin stood still, eyes closed. The moonstone at her neck began to hum. This place was never just a home, she whispered. It was a vault. Ronan raised a brow. A vault for what? She turned slowly, following the hum like a scent trail. Her hand brushed across a section of crumbling floor, stones polished smoother than the rest. Different. Touched. She dropped to her knees and pressed the moonstone into a small, crescent-shaped groove carved beneath the dust. It clicked. The earth trembled. A circle of stones shifted, rotated, then sank inward to reveal a spiral stairwell winding into the dark beneath the hollow. Ronan stepped beside her, blade already in hand. Why do I feel like this is the part where we die? Aelin smiled faintly. Because you're smart. Then she descended. The air grew colder with each step. This wasn't a natural tunnel. The walls were made of carved black stone, etched with sigils that pulsed faintly as she passed. Not moon sigils, something older. Sharper. More primal. Your ancestors didn't build this, Ronan muttered. No, Aelin agreed. They found it. And sealed it. At the bottom of the spiral, the tunnel widened into a chamber that felt alive. The walls curved like ribs around them. At the center stood a circular dais, surrounded by broken chains and tall silver spikes driven deep into the ground. And upon the dais, a pedestal. Atop the pedestal, encased in glass like crystal, floated a black blade. It pulsed with heat. Not warmth or rage. Aelin stepped closer, breath shallow. Ronan stayed back. That's not just a weapon. No, she whispered. It's a sentence. Inscribed on the crystal were words in Old Lunari. Here sleeps the Oathbreaker. Here sleeps the flame that burned its own blood. Bound in silver. Sealed in silence. Awaiting judgment. Ronan's eyes widened. Is that? The blade of binding, Aelin confirmed. Used only once in history. He nodded slowly. To imprison one of your own. To punish them, Aelin said. For betraying the Moonbound. The air thickened. Do not wake it. Do not speak its name. She stepped closer. It was said to be used on a general, one who fought for Lunaris, then turned and led the Silver King's first assault against the Hollow. Ronan's hand tightened on his hilt. And now it calls to you. I need to know why. As she laid her fingers on the crystal, the world shifted. Not a vision this time. A memory sealed in the blade. Ancient. Burning. She stood in a battlefield of snow and ash. Wolves clashed beneath the full moon. At the center, a woman in Lunaris silver fought back to back with a tall figure in dark armor, the general. His face was hidden beneath a helm of bone and onyx. But when he turned to the enemy lines, he joined them. She screamed his name, reaching toward him, Aelin. And he drove a blade through her chest. Aelin staggered back from the pedestal. The chamber returned. The blade pulsed once more. Ronan caught her. What did you see? His name, she whispered. Aelin. My mother's most trusted commander. Her blood worn. And he betrayed her? Yes. Her voice was hollow now. He loved her. And he betrayed her. And the blade was used to imprison him in spirit and in name. Not in death, but in echo. Ronan looked uneasy. Then why does it call to you? Aelin raised her gaze slowly, eyes silver bright. Because his fate is tied to mine. As they turned to leave, a soft light shimmered along the far wall. Another carving revealed itself, one hidden beneath dust and time. a warning etched in the old tongue. When the Moonbound breaks the binding seal, the shadow of love will rise again. Crownless, name bound, vengeance shaped, and only fire may decide the end. Ronan exhaled. What does it mean? Aelin looked back at the blade. It means the Silver King wasn't the first betrayal. She turned to him. It means I wasn't the first Moonbound to be tempted by love.
Every story has an ending, but some mysteries live on. If you enjoyed this tale, don't let it fade into the shadows. Smash that like button and subscribe for more thrilling stories that will transport you beyond the veil of the ordinary. Subscribe to our channel and your name will appear at the beginning of our next video, where we will pleasantly thank you for your subscribing. Tap the bell icon so you never miss a journey into the unknown. Share your thoughts in the comments. What twists did you see coming? And what secrets do you think still remain? Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and let the next story begin.